Hello, my name is Shawn Everett. I'm here in my studio that is occasionally named Subtle McNuggets in downtown Los Angeles, California. I'm here today with the guys from Apogee. Very excited to pull up a track that I've used some of the Apogee plugins on. Not only that, but I recorded with the Apogee Symphony, which to me just sounds unbelievable. I've been using Apogee products since I was basically a child. So yeah, I gotta go way back with Apogee. I was going to go through this song here there's a group, really an incredible group called Big Thief, and a couple of years ago I met them and we did some recording on their most recent album, Dragon New Warm Mountain, up in Topanga at a studio that a friend of mine owns named Jonathan Wilson. We were basically camped up there for probably about a week, and it was a pretty cool experience because they kind of had a concept where they were going to do for the recording of that album, they were going to do it in 4 different situations. So in each situation was a different engineer and a completely different setup, a different way of approaching recording. And I think that they kind of went through a bunch of different people and chose like a group that was quite diverse in the way that they approach things. And so they told me that the idea behind me recording that session was that I was going to be kind of the experimental weird approach. And so because they told me that, it felt like it gave me the freedom a little bit to maybe explore some things that maybe I wouldn't necessarily normally just jump right on when I first started working with somebody. The first day or two, I set up a pretty normal situation, with normal microphones, normal techniques, and just tried to get it to sound, as good as I could. And there's a tape machine up there, and so generally the entire time I was actually tracking through the tape machine into Pro Tools. That made it kind of tricky for a couple of reasons, but in any case, we started off and I did the kind of normal approach to recording them. But then as time went on, I started to kind of feel more and more comfortable in that studio situation, and that I'd kind of already kind of figured out how to dial it in basically, that I was able to kind of start putting on the weird approach hat that they had originally asked for. So by the time we hit this song called Blurred View, I was kind of more comfortable in the situation. I could try a couple of other things. So there was an idea, throughout the recording of the other tracks too, I had put up a few different contact mics on some different instruments, and they seemed to like some of the sounds that we were generating off of them. Actually, here's one right here. I had a bunch of these kind of contact mics, used some putty and put these on the different instruments on different places, and everywhere you put them, they sound quite different. And so I thought it would be really fun for this song. When they started rehearsing it, it kind of gave me this certain kind of vibe, and I thought it might be kind of cool to use only contact mics at just 100%. So there was no, I put a rule for myself that I wasn't going to use a single microphone on the entire recording of this track, and just really kind of buckle down and just make sure that there was no cheating going on. The other kind of interesting thing about this recording, and all the recordings that I did with them, not like a hard rule, but a basic rule that they'd set up when they wanted to record the album this way with different people, was that each day they'd probably record, usually a song, and by the end of the day, that whatever rough mix we'd kind of concocted would be the mix that they would use on the album. So I was aware of that, and I kind of had built up a kind of mix template and a sort of a situation as if I was normally mixing a song. It's maybe not to the full degree of what I would normally be doing, but as I was tracking the song, I wasn't just generally just trying to track the instruments and get a good tone and just, have it end there. I was pretty much mixing as best as I could live, so that, as the night rolled on, that whatever, wherever we landed, and when we left that day and I was driving home, I would be able to listen to it, and I would theoretically not want to, crawl out of my skin. So all of this mix and this mix of this song is from that day, and of the recording. So that's another kind of slightly odd aspect of this. And so basically when we were recording, there's one other kind of aspect that's sort of interesting, is that because we were using a tape machine, well, I was doing two things. One, up here, this area of the session is not coming off of tape. This is just digital. This is just being fed digital. These are like the mic, well, not mics. These are the contact mics just being recorded directly into the computer. And then below here, coming off of the repro head of the tape, is being transferred in real time, the same sources, but through tape. But I didn't have enough tape channels to record everything, so you'll see some things are just a straight channel, like this only has this one plugin on it. But like down here, you'll see this thing has a delay, this bass has a delay on it, and this delay is the amount of tape latency that there was coming from above. And so I've never even taken this off. It's like, because I'm monitoring tape and some digital sources at the same time, so that's why these little delays are on every channel, or not every channel, but every channel that wasn't recorded through tape. This right here is like a bit of a cheat. It's a sub mic on the kick drum, but it's not really it's still considered a contact mic, I would say, because it's like a NS10 speaker that's actually been rewired to be recorded, and it's not just standing far back like a microphone. It's actually taped onto the drum so that it's recreating the sound of like what would be a very large contact mic. This is a more normal contact mic on the same kick drum that I've put through some, Sans amp. You can kind of combine and get something close to what like a normal kick drum would sound like. The cool thing that I thought about this was that, you could put up a microphone on the kick drum and that would sound like a microphone on the kick drum and it would sound pretty good, but I just would never have ended up with this weirdo kick drum sound had I done that. Then you can just go, so this is on the snare drum. This is a contact mic, very strange sounding. This is right on the head, I believe, but just like really drastically messed around with the EQs. So also with the kind of one weird aspect of this is like, this is not generally even a plugin I normally would have pulled up. Like I would have like been playing with, other, EQs and stuff like that. But because I was trying to minimize the amount of latency on each channel, because I was monitoring this throughout the day as they were recording, I needed to use stuff with the least amount of latency that I could use. Here's a contact mic on the snare bottom. So you have the top of your snare drum on the left and the bottom on the right, which is extra peculiar. Actually, I didn't even remember that I did that. And then this says overhead. So then basically you've got all these mics together, and you've got a kind of situation like this, very kind of strange and peculiar drum sound, which I was quite excited by when we did it. Same thing goes with the bass DI. It's also another like contact mic, and then we have a contact mic on the amp of the bass. You can actually hear bleed coming into the amp of the bass. Because it's not even a mic, it's a same kind of situation. Guitar. Can't even remember how we did all this, but in any case, all of this stuff is just a pretty aggressive use of contact mics. These are, I think actually I had some old Apple headphones. I ran out of contact mics and I had Apple headphones and I was taping them to the inside of the amps of the guitars. So it was just like this tiny little thing just taped onto the actual amp. And for the vocal, obviously, that becomes a little trickier. I taped headphones around her neck. So it was like actually taped right onto her throat.
Texas, return to.
Gives it a really kind of almost lo-fi sound, but it definitely has a weird tone to it that you wouldn't normally get from a normal mic. So then I have this kind of whole master bus situation. I think the band is feeding into master 1, and then I have the vocal into 2, I believe. So, yeah. And yeah, I just had some different stuff on these, but I definitely was really into these Apogee Pultec plugins. They sound incredible and do a really great job of recreating the sound of the original Pultecs, which I love so much. And then actually there's a lot of Pultecs being used throughout the master bus. We've got one on this main bus and then another on the vocal bus, and then there's actually 2 on the actual master. And then you can hear how much they're doing when I turn off the master ones. Actually, I'll turn them all off.
And the magazine, the blue screen, the big hand moving past the last thing to turn for you, turn for you, turn for you, turn for you. And the private.
I think I basically had those on pretty much the whole time, so I was kind of dialing it into that whole EQ situation. And that's kind of yeah, the basic story of that song. I mean, there was a lot more that went into it than just that, but worked on in a while. That was definitely one of the more experimental nights of the last few years that I felt was like really exciting and was just generating a really different kind of result than like a normal tracking situation. And you know, when you're working with great people that are, you know, ultra creative, you know, they were responding to it as much as I was, you know, because it was just like I don't know, it felt, you know, it just felt different and fresh and unique and new, and it was like a really exciting experience. And yeah, that's the story of Blurred View by Big Thief. Thank you.